Herald-Times sports editor Chris Korman here, joined today by Dustin Dopirak, beat writer for the Herald-Times, and Zach Osterman.
We brought the ginger today.
Did you just call him a ginger on the video?
We do it on the chat all the time.
It's ginger time on ScoopTalk.
Okay, we have a ginger with us. Zach Osterman of Inside the Hall Now, former IDS writer, also covers some Notre Dame football and basketball for the Times of Northwest Indiana. Zach, thanks for joining us, my friend.
Thank you for having me on.
Let me put you right on right on the spot here. Manny Harris invisible for the first 30 minutes of this game. I guess a little less than that.
29, 11:03 is when he broke his
11:03.
Got his first bucket.
Gets 17 of his 21 points down that stretch, right?
Yeah.
What happened, Zach? I mean, is that a case of a star player finally exerting himself, getting it, understanding, finding his touch, or did Indiana allow him to do something? What did you see?
I think it was probably a little bit of both. I think one thing that I always think with Harris is I always wonder if coaches wouldn't rather see him score from the beginning, because he's a guy who they know he will find ways to get his points, and it's not just, Manny Harris's shot started falling. You're right. It was he started. It felt like he was stronger off the dribble a little bit later in the game. He started finding ways to get his points. And Tom Crean talked about, the last 5 or 6 minutes of the game, Indiana defensively, whether they were tired or he used the word rattled, they just weren't the same team that they were for maybe 30 to 35 minutes, at least defensively.
Right.
He's a player who, like I said, he finds ways to get his points just about every night, and by the end of the game, I think you could talk about he'd scored in just about every feasible way.
Yeah, the thing with Harris that I see when I watch him is, he obviously wasn't recruited by Beeline, so he's not exactly a Beeline system guy.
Yeah, sure.
I think he's a talented enough player to fit in any system, but he feels a little bit caged in Beeline's system.
Yeah.
And he got, I don't know what prompted it. I kind of forget, but he got yanked.
He was 0 for 5 from the floor.
Right, early in the second half, and kind of sat for a good stretch and sort of seemed to watch what was going on, and came back and whatever happened, he understood where his shots were, where his open lanes were. He just got it at that point.
Just clicked. Everybody, a good bit of it does, I think, have to come down to Indiana being tired too, because I mean, he just broke guys down.
Right.
Just crossover dribble that wasn't necessarily getting him anything early on. Just was putting guys on the floor, more or less. I think, a couple times, and there wasn't help behind it either. Like, if he broke one guy down out of the three-point line, he had a lane. It was there. And I think that was a big part of it. But, absolutely, he was a lot more dynamic, and you obviously couldn't do anything from three from outside early, and then knocked down. The three that he hit, I think, was really the dagger. I think that put him up 12. And from that point, Indiana never got it back under double digits.
Yeah. Tom Crean said on the radio show, he told Don Fisher afterward that, Indiana reverted back to who it is at this point, was his phrase. And it really kind of did. There was nobody to really take over or to counter Manny Harris at that point. Nobody was going to really go get a stop on him, and nobody was going to come back and hit I don't know, a counter dagger? Is that a term? Is that a real thing?
It's not. But you're on a roll. We're going to let you go.
Yeah. Let's talk about what we did learn from the Hoosiers tonight. I think Christian Watford continuing to develop or evolve into that go-to guy role. He seems most suited after Maurice Creek's injury, and had his ups and downs again tonight. Yeah. What did you see from him?
He goes back and forth with it. There was a couple times he was strong underneath and put some buckets up. I think that the hand thing is bothering me, to be honest with you. Yeah, he just doesn't seem 100% comfortable with the ball. Not that he really did, but it seems like things have taken a bad turn for him in that way. He doesn't seem like he totally grips the ball right. I think when he gets it down low, he doesn't seem like he's exactly sure that the ball is going to come back to him the right way. I think that's been an issue since he's had that thing on his wrist or on his thumb or whatever the injury actually is. I think that's kind of hindering him. But he definitely showed some spark, because he really had some struggles early and put up some shots that didn't make a lot of sense, but kept fighting, kept battling after it, and went, got some rebounds, got some putbacks. I think it was the only guy who was double digits tonight. So you are seeing you're definitely seeing stretches from him and sparks, flashes. Not
getting a whole lot of help in the paint from Tom Pritchard. Pritchard again gets 0 rebounds, or not again, but
he did
tonight
dunk the ball.
He did dunk. We know he can dunk. That's sort of an old Hoosier standby joke now, I think. But Pritchard, there's something missing. Zach, you watched him all last year. And I don't think, he obviously tailed off. He was really the Hoosiers' everything early in the season. Had double-doubles to start his career in the first 2 games, and certainly tailed off. But I don't think there was ever a time last year where fans were on him as much for appearing not to have anything. It just sort of, I don't know if he looks lost, but he just doesn't have.
He doesn't look confident.
Yeah, he's lost his confidence, and it's just it's a weird thing with Pritchard right now. What have you seen from him?
Well, I think you talk about last year. I think by the end of the year, I think we all just thought he was tired.
Oh, right. He was beat down.
As a freshman, he'd really kind of exhausted all of his post moves. You could tell everybody knew what was coming, and obviously there was just no help. And so I think we all just kind of assumed, and probably rightfully so, that it wasn't anything mental. It was just all physical with him. This year, he just doesn't look confident. It seems, and sometimes it seems like everything he tries to do goes wrong. There were a couple of times where it looked like he had the right idea, maybe to go up and then try to get a little up and under pass or something tonight, but his teammate cut the wrong way and it was a turnover. And I think sometimes those things can, obviously I haven't talked to him too much about it, but those things can snowball on you to a point where it just doesn't feel like anything's going right, like anything's working. When he took the ball to the basket with authority tonight, I thought he had some good results, but there wasn't, that confidence didn't translate into every possession.
Right. Yeah.
It didn't translate over on defense.
Right.
It looks a lot more mental with him now than I think it ever did last year.
I have no idea if you guys could hear that, but there are apparently banshees. That was the worst squeaking we've ever heard.
That's the ghost of Chris Webber.
Time out.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Tom Crean, I don't know. I actually stayed back to listen to his radio show. I referenced it earlier and hear what he had to say on there. And you guys went to the media room, which is a little far away. We were on a terrible deadline tonight, which we've been on so many games this year. With TV ruling the world
in the East is just not necessary.
Yeah,
it's just not necessary.
Thanks for that commentary there. But Crean on the radio, very quiet. Sitting right next to him, could barely hear him. And about 3 times, I think, was asked a question by Don Fisher, and didn't respond. Basically, sat there thinking, and then Don said, "Oh well, your silence tells me everything."
That wasn't a lot different than in the media.
Yeah. What did you see from Crean?
Basically, I mean, he shot down one of my questions. So that was fine.
And one of your questions was one of like 3 questions.
Yeah, I think there were 2.
That's true.
I think Ken Bykoff asked one, then I thought I just asked something extremely vague about the offense not necessarily clicking. He told me I needed to be more specific, and I said 19 field goals, 19 turnovers. He told me to speculate for myself, so I guess I did. But so yeah, I mean, he obviously credited Harrison and Sims, and that was profusely. That was the vast majority of what was said, more or less. And rightfully so. Obviously, Harris as good as he was, but Deshaun Sims too was the only
throughout
guy,
the game.
Throughout the game was solid, and really
he was
in the first half
was the only
person.
half.
Yeah, unlike everybody else on offense.
I think this was the best game I haven't seen. I've seen Deshaun Harris 2 or 3 years now. Deshaun Sims. The ultimate player, Deshaun Harris.
Yes, they combined.
This might be the best complete game I've seen out of him, just in watching Michigan, through the times they play Indiana. Right. I mean, just the way he played tonight, inside, outside, he looked confident. And like you said, when everything else on both ends of the floor just looked horrid in the first half, Sims was very confident.
He was an animal all week, too. I mean, he was a Big Ten player of the week.
Possibly. A preview, an advance from Dustin for you. Wow, the Banshees are back. That means we need
we got to get out of here,
because we're
going to start running.
Frightening. Anyway, Indiana looks ahead to a game with Minnesota on Sunday. I'm anxious to hear what Crean has to say. Presumably we'll talk to him Friday or Saturday, yeah. And it's got to be frustrating for him. It's got to be difficult. The answers are hard to come by because I think time is the only thing that's going to really build this team. But we got to keep covering it and covering each little advance. Zach Osterman, thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks for having me.
You were terrific. Read him at Inside the Hall along with our good friend Alex Bozich. And find us where you usually find us. And good night. Go watch Jay Leno. By the way, Zach was standing in front of a no standing sign the whole time. Awesome. Later.